Hi everyone, hope you're all well. So I've come across a report which is just another reminder of where woke ideology is in our tertiary institutions, in our universities. And it's just, I think it's pathetic and I think it's sad at the same time. So I'm going to read out the article. This is from Yahoo News. And I want to also make a personal anecdote that's sort of related to this. So here it goes. I'll try to make this condensed rather than read out the whole thing. The reports by Ewan Somerville on Yahoo News, well, via the Telegraph. Photographer accused of sexism after asking male Cambridge students to help the ladies. Um, so basically, I'll try to read this out in a condensed way. It is a rite of passage enjoyed by Britain's brightest minds for a generation, but matriculation at the University of Cambridge has now become the unlikely casualty of wokery. Wolfson College is embroiled in a sexism row after students complained they were made to feel unsafe when a photographer for the onboarding ceremony asked gentlemen to help the ladies. Now, the context of this apparently is that when you have a group photograph, there's a platform, and ostensibly in this situation, the female students were at the back of the platform, like higher up. So naturally, if they had gowns on, I imagine from a practical point of view, the photographer was saying, just guys help the ladies, help the female students. Um, so it seems to me this was just a basic question of politeness and practicality. In other words, so that people wouldn't maybe trip up and have a serious injury. But obviously, they didn't take it that way. Students at the college, which counts several country leaders among its alumni, have now written a complaint letter seeking a formal apology over the targeted atmosphere of inequality, which punctured a safe space for all genders on campus. The row began on the evening of the photo when several of those present raised concern on the Wolfson College Student Association's 450 member Facebook group, and I've just frankly contacted them to tell them what I think of this about the gendered language leaked to the Telegraph. They said the photographer, who was an older man, offered to help students dismount from a raised platform and told them for any women that are having problems, there are a couple of gentlemen that are here to help you. That's all it was. There's absolutely no indication that the guy was being sleazy or over the top or anything else. Nothing that's reported anyway. Um, and this has attracted attention beyond this. On Saturday, the saga attracted ridicule. Sir John Hayes, chairman of the Common Sense Group of 50 Tory MPs, said, I've no doubt that the photographer's courtesy represents the civility well known to working class patriots, but clearly unknown to out of touch ivory tower immature privileged snowflakes. Kate Tanha, the Women and Non-Binary officer at the Cambridge Union 200-year-old debating society, was one of those who welcomed writing the complaint there, telling another student you should totally do that. She offered to help draft and sign it. The data seen by this newspaper, this is the Telegraph, claims the external photographer's remarks are not in keeping with the university's ethos as a safe space for people of all genders and created a targeted atmosphere of inequality. Now, there's a few things to say about this, and the article continues, but that's basically the gist of the situation here. Um, yeah, well, just this. It comes after the Telegraph revealed last week how freshers at Wilson College have been told to complete mandatory anti-racism classes, which covered microaggressions, privilege, and whiteness. In the lesson dismissed as mandatory indoctrination by Dr. James Orr at Cambridge Dawn, students were told this is not a debating session. This is actually quite sinister. It's easy to laugh at this stuff and say it's just these students being snowflakes and being really petty. But I think it's beyond that. I think it's actually a little bit sinister what's happening in our tertiary education system. I mean, Cambridge is a world-renowned university, and this is the sort of nonsense that is going on. That a photographer is making a gesture of politeness. I mean, if the female student felt that they didn't need help, then they could have simply said, "Oh, I'm fine, thanks." I can get down okay. There's nothing to indicate that this photographer was being sleazy or going over the top in any way. And I really hope the man isn't shamed or targeted by these petty, petty individuals. They need to get over themselves. The Cambridge students, they're going to be lawyers, they're going to be doctors. Um, is this the sort of people that we want in professional fields? Influencing society? Politicians, no doubt, some of them. It's um, it's just something that is very, very sad. Um, I could understand if the photographer was being a little bit sleazy or something like that, but that's not reported at all. That doesn't seem to be the case at all. I can picture the situation there. And to anyone with common sense, it just, I don't even know. I mean, I really have enormous sympathy for students who do have common sense. Because despite what some people think, not all millennials are woke zealots. A lot of young people are actually quite rational and reasonable. But what's happening is you're getting these very outspoken voices. I'm not going to talk about proportion because I don't know what the sort of proportion is. But you get these loud voices who talk about microaggressions. They talk about safe spaces, all the rest of it, and they're fine with cancelling people, yet they talk about their safety. Now, I cannot rationalize how a gesture of politeness can in any way be interpreted as a hostile act. Maybe it's old fashioned chivalry. Maybe that's what they've got a problem with. Of course, there's a paradox here. Not long ago, we were hearing from feminists about how men need to step up and look out for women. So, how does that reconcile with something like this? If they're going to make an issue over a small thing, what if one of those female students was in trouble? Like, what if she was getting mugged or attacked by a potential rapist? Would that then be not be looking at the equality if a male student or any guy for that matter was to intervene? Can they not understand how controlling and petty they're coming across? It's just very sad. So what's the reproach to it? What's the right way to deal with this? Well, firstly, I hope nothing happens to the photographer. He should face absolutely no censure or caution or whatever. And I think any pressure to make the college apologise, I think Don was right. I think they should resist that. Well, what the Don actually said was he was talking about another situation, I should say. It's mandatory indoctrination. I assume this letter is addressed to the college itself over their appointing of the photographer. And no doubt, those who drafted the letter will demand a struggle session um, for male students. They'll have to stand and self-denunciate their maleness. This is the sort of petty-minded vindictiveness that I so loathe with woke zealots. For people who talk about kindness and understanding, they're some of the worst bullies around. And they're obnoxious in the extreme. I've sent a message to their Facebook page expressing this. No threats, nothing like that. No doubt they'll report me or block me or something. But these are petty, petty, weak individuals who cannot deal with the real world. Yet they are in world renowned universities and they're going to be in the positions of responsibility and influence tomorrow. That's concerning. It's very concerning. So, to bring up the personal anecdote I was talking about 5, 6 years ago, I was working at my local university in the international department, which catered for international students. A lot of them were from the Far East, mostly China, but there were also a lot of students from the Middle East. Anyway, it was a good job. I enjoyed it. We traveled around. The idea was to sort of give the students a cultural experience. So we brought them to landmarks. We went to Leeds. We went to Edinburgh. We went to Durham Cathedral. Just interesting things in Northeast England and Scotland to see. And one of those trips was to Hadrian's Wall. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was the very extent of the Roman Empire. Some beautiful countryside around there, if anyone has ever had the chance. But one thing about Hadrian's Wall is it's rugged terrain. You know, this is kind of remote Northumberland, and it's some of the most isolated parts of England. It's beautiful, but it's a little bit, you need to be a little bit prepared. Anyway, some of the female students, they came a little bit unprepared. They came in nice shoes. Some of them had dresses on. I don't know if they maybe thought it was just a museum or something, but the point is they weren't quite prepared for that because as we were walking along the wall, it's hilly. You go up and down, and that can be a little bit precarious, especially if there's wind and there's rock outlets and so on. So we could see the situation, and myself and other male staff members just done the right thing. We could see the female students coming down. We held our arms out just as support, so they could hold on to our arm like that, and that's what happened. And the female students, they took the gesture, and they were grateful and they understood it for what it was. Not a single complaint, not a big deal, just the right thing to do. Sadly, no doubt if that was Cambridge, we'd all be, facing Me Too allegations. This is just, lack of common sense. Now, what sort of men would we be if we were to be in that situation and the female students were sort of slipping and we just ignored them? I do feel that I'm assuming the students involved in this were feminists. Uh, I do think for that kind of feminist, no matter what a man does, he is wrong. You know, if he tries to be a gentleman, if he tries to be polite, then he's gendering her. And if he does nothing, then he's not stepping up. You cannot win with that mentality. You just can't. There's no reasoning with it. Um, the reason I mentioned that anecdote is just that's common sense. It wasn't a big deal. Yes, we were being polite, but it wasn't like we were trying to be knights in shining armor or something. And we weren't patronizing the female students. We weren't suggesting they're weak little ladies or something like that. It was just a practical thing. There was even a few male students we helped as well. You know, it was just generally people helping each other. Um, just decency. That's all. And the thing that I loathe most about wokeism, and I defend using that term because that is what the ideology comes down to, um, is its falseness. It pertains to be all about compassion and understanding and all that, but it is going against basic common sense. It's going against basic conventional politeness. I mean, this is one of the most absurd cases I've heard, but at this point, I'm not even surprised anymore. I really, really do not envy students who don't subscribe to this nonsense, but they have to live there. They have to put up with it. You know, they maybe have a 3-year course and they're in that environment, and I really sympathize with them because they're going to be thinking, whoa, I have to walk on eggshells here. That's the real problem. You know, we talk about safe spaces. That's the real problem at universities is woke zealots. They are the threat, not normal young people who just want to get on with their lives. These woke zealots. And sometimes it comes from above, sometimes it comes from very left wing academics who promote this way of thinking. So, people who say it's all young people, some of the worst woke zealots are older people, actually, baby boomers who are influencing this. So, it's often presented as a generational thing. I'm not so sure about that. Certainly, it's affected millennials, and probably will increasingly affect Generation Z, excuse me, Generation Z. But I also think that this began with baby boomer academics. It's just a sad, sad thing. And that photographer's gonna be thinking, what the hell? I thought I was just being a good man. I thought I was just, and now he finds himself the target of this vindictive letter. I hope the college just ignores it. Um, because really, these students need to just get over themselves. How are they going to handle the real world? You know, if they're a lawyer, are they going to handle a difficult client? If they become a doctor, what about a difficult patient? If they're a politician, how are they going to handle constituents with concerns? I don't know how they think they're going to become professional people with such a petty mindset. This is not about compassion. It's not about equality. It's about petty control. And it is utterly pathetic. I'll put a link to the article.